representative and our senator speak, so if you guys want to go ahead and do your thing. And then afterwards, we'll have Kate Decker talk about everything with her stuff. So, here you guys go.
Good morning.
Morning.
It's great to be back in Northwest Oklahoma, to be honest with you. This is finishing my second session, second term, and I've yet to have a normal one. They say they go to, you go to meetings and all that. But, I've had teacher strikes and walkouts and then the COVID just last year, so it's been an interesting 4 years. But I'm going to give you a little overview of everything from the $50,000 foot view, not dollar. I don't know if maybe I'll wake my brain up. I should have got coffee instead of water or something. But anyway, we started the year at the legislative session with 2,240 bills filed. We passed 167. In a way, some of that was good. In a way, some of it was bad because some of the bills that didn't ever get heard were some of mine, like a cemetery bill that I've been working on for up here. And we had made some provisions on that, and we were working to get it back through the Senate, and it looked good, and we'll pick it up next year. So a lot of those bills you'll see back again next year. So they're gonna be around. But we started the year, and they projected about an $85.5 million budget hole. And then all of a sudden it grew to the middle, to the final assessment was a $1.4 billion budget hole, which was one of the biggest ones that we've had. And there were some creative things that we did to try to fill that. Yes, I think some of it's a risk. We're hoping the economy picks up, because I think my thinking was, and I can only talk about me and a lot of my colleagues that I know were thinking is, cutting things in a crisis is not necessarily the best time to do it when they're already in people out of work and stuff like that. And so we tried to move some of that around. And I don't think any of the money we moved around was actually money we tried to hurt. I know I've got blown up on, we're taking money out of the teacher retirement system and stuff like that. But by the way, we did get a COLA.
Thank you very much.
Just after umpteen years, we finally given a COLA. In fact, COLA was given to retired state employees. If you've been out for 2 years, between 2 and 5 years, you would get 2% increase, and that 5 and over would get a 4% increase on the retirement check. And so we did do that. But some of the money, I just want to explain this because I want it to be you to know what we went through. So there was different things, challenges we had to face to look to shore up a budget. We did take a 4% cut. Now this is, a lot of the agencies I'm over, natural resources, and a lot of mine are the smaller agencies, Department of Ag, DEQ, tourism, all those things like that, and things that impact your lives on a daily basis. Okay, and they had already taken 45% cuts. So we had not, when we had a flush year 2 years ago, we didn't give them more money. We held them stable. So we additionally cut them an additional 4% from that. Now the only thing we did not cut was mainly education, and so that's where we were. Kind of give you an overview. I don't want to talk. I think neither one of us wants to talk too long because we want to hear what questions you have for us, and we'd like to answer those. We did do some criminal justice, some education reform. I know virtual schools has been virtual charter schools has been a big thing. We try to make some more transparency on those, that when they're transferring in and out, to make sure that they are getting an education if they're at a virtual charter school. One of the things is that they get mad at the school and they leave the school and they say, I'm going to go to a virtual charter school. and then they go to the virtual charter school, and they don't do anything. And so we're making sure there's some regulations, like if they have to do, like, before they had to do 40 educational instructional activities each quarter. They're divided into quarters. Well, we raised that to 72 to show that they're doing more work, okay? And then also, if they have not sent any instructional activity in the last 15 days, they're considered to be truant. And if they have 2 truancies come up, then they have to withdraw from that virtual charter school and go to another school. We're just wanting to make sure that our kids are getting educated properly, okay? I mean, a lot of virtual charter schools are doing a good job. We just want to make sure they're not taking advantage of the state dollar in that area. That was just one of the things I was just chanting on. On the absentee ballots, we heard some things about that. We tried to make it a little more user-friendly, that if you're doing an absentee, especially at this election, within 45 days of a crisis, that all you would have to do, right now you have to do notarized, right? And everybody said, well, it's good. We can afford notary. Well, I'm sorry, but the notary's got to be done for free. Nobody can charge to notarize an absentee ballot. That's just kind of, that is a law. But we also, instead of having a notary, we just want you to put your ID in there. And you say, well, I can't go get a copy of my ID. Well, just put your election card in there, and they'll send you a new one. And so, any kind of form of ID, just to show that you were truly the registered. Because right when that court overturned that, we had a lot of ballots, all absentee ballots going out just like that. Oklahoma is one of the best states in the nation in making sure we don't have a lot of people that live in the cemetery voting. Okay? And so that's one of the things we want to work on and keep it that way. And so that was another thing that we did to kind of make it more user-friendly, but yet to protect the vote, to make sure it's a true vote. One of the things I wanted to talk to you with, we can talk about any issue you want to talk about, but I think it's something that's coming down the pike that you need to be aware of, both sides of this issue, and that's State Question 802. Now, State Question 802 expands Medicaid. Right now, we have Medicaid, Sooner Care, right, for children, handicapped, disabled, and all those groups there. We already have it in place. And 802 would expand Medicaid to healthy adults between the ages of 19 and 64. Okay? If you're an individual, you made $17,800, it's around that $17,000, $18,000 range in a year, that's your total salary, then you would qualify. A family would be $35,500. Okay? If your family didn't make one, then you would qualify. Now, I'm not opposed to that, helping those that need it, okay? But this state question is going to put it in the Constitution of the state of Oklahoma. Did you know right now that the Medicaid we have right now is not in the Constitution of the state of Oklahoma? You know how many times we've made changes to that over the years because of needs, seeing increased needs or something like that? If this is voted in, it will be here permanently unless we go back and vote it back out. And so I want you to be aware of that. It stays in place as it is. We were working on a plan, some call it Sooner Care 2.0, some call it Oklahoma's Helping Oklahoma, but it was a flexible plan. Some of the things we wanted to look at were a work requirement. To show me that you are trying to make a living, and I understand those that are having a hard time living, I'm making a living, I want to help them, okay? And so that's part of that deal that we were trying to work on, but it got vetoed. I can kind of say that since he did a few vetoes. It kind of got vetoed by the governor earlier in session, and we never did get picked back up, and we were gonna end up having them both on the ballot. You go, well, you know, asking the voters to pick one or two, you know, and we figured both of them had passed, and then we got, then the fight's on again. So, we didn't do that. But 802, in a way, is a great thing for those that really need it, and I'm not opposed to that. I just don't know that we want to put it in our state constitution, okay? Because normal Medicaid, excuse me, we pay, the state pays about 30 to 40%, okay? We're going to get the expansion, we're only going to pay 10%. We say, I'm getting $9 out of every 10, the federal government's going to pay for it. That's a great thing. But eventually, and this is Senator Langford's exact words, we cannot continue to do that. It eventually will come back down to what normal Medicaid is. If that happens in the state of Oklahoma, it's going to cost the state $330 million more a year. And didn't I tell you we just cut budgets 4%? Didn't I already tell you? And so that money's going to have to come from some place. And so that's what we're going to look at. One of the things we're looking at is the tobacco, the tobacco.
TSET.
TSET, yeah, that's it. Looking for the TSET money that we're getting from the tobacco companies. We're looking at, there's some money out there on hospitalization and stuff like that. But that's what we're having to look at if that happens. And that's just to meet our 10%, not let alone an additional 20 to 30% if that does pass. And then they make the cut later on. Does that make sense? Kind of? And I'll be happy to answer questions about that later. But I don't want to take into the good senator's time. So I'm going to turn it over to him, let him talk, and then, like I said, we'd like to answer your questions. So, Senator Murdoch?
Thank you, Carl. You guys have a good one with Carl. He does a good job for y'all. If my technology will work. Yes, this year has been something. Started this year, as Carl said, you know, kind of looking okay. You know, last year was probably the best year since I've been at the Capitol. As far as revenue coming in, we were able to save $1 billion between the rainy day fund and the revenue stabilization fund. That's what helped us this year. I was hoping that $1 billion savings would have lasted more than a year before we had to get into it, but I'm glad we were able to save that money last year, or it would have been a lot worse this year. Some of the things, you know, we like I said, we started the year, normal year, filing bills, 2,700 bills. I can't say my heart's broke that we only did 100 and some, because I think every law that goes into effect, we're going to strike 2 of them. We've got books and books of laws down there that just is ridiculous. But things were rolling along pretty good. You know, COVID hit, and for me, I'm going to tell you, in my mindset, how I saw COVID, it was on the East Coast and the West Coast, but we're sitting here in Oklahoma, we're fine. And we're going to be all right. That's thousands of miles away. When we had a positive in the state Senate, on a staff person came up positive, my mind changed. My mindset on it changed. Now, I don't know whether it was the scare that it was that close, or when they tested me, they shoved that thing so far back in my head and scrambled my brains, but it changed something. And that's a test that I don't want to ever do again. But we've got to be careful. We have to be smart. And I think this is moving forward. Growing up, you know, your mother's always saying, wash your hands, and we're going to have to do that. We're going to have to wear a mask if you're in the vulnerable group. And we're just gonna have to be precautious on what we do and where we go. I made the joke that I've eaten enough dirt in a Brandon pen that I'm immune from about everything. But no, I don't want to say I turned into Howie Mandel, but I started washing my hands. Every time I walked by a hand cleaner, I washed it. But so we move into that phase of this session. We kind of sure things up, and we go home. We shut the Capitol down, and they do a massive cleaning at the Capitol, disinfecting everything. Now comes the Zoom meetings. Let me tell you, I am up to here with Zoom meetings. It is fun and neat the first couple of meetings, but when you're sitting there all day long on Zoom meetings, I'm a people person. I want to look you in the eye. I want to see your facial expressions when we're having a conversation on this or that. You don't get that in Zoom meetings. We did the best we could through the avenues we had to deal with. For the oil crisis to the COVID shutting down the economy, I think we did a pretty good job keeping things as stable as we can. What we have to look out for is next year. Next year is going to be rough. I'm not going to tell you any feel-good stuff. Next year is going to be a tough year. Really not looking forward to it. I really hope things get turned around, but with the second wave that looks like that's coming, it's going to be a tough year next year. But so we're Zoom meeting. I'm sitting in my house in Felt, Oklahoma, doing these meetings. We $280 million short. We have to go back to the Capitol and actually move money around because revenues are slowing down. We're shut down. These businesses are shut down, so we're not getting sales tax revenue. What do oil get? Negative $30 a barrel. I didn't know that was possible. I know it's possible in the cattle market you can make negative, but this was bad. So we had to go back in. We voted 10 people at a time on the floor. So we sat in our office, watched it online. You had the presenters of the bill, you had the minority leader, the floor leader, and the presenter of the bill on the actual Senate floor. And we sat in the office and we text questions if we had questions on the bill. Then when it came up to vote, 10 people at a time, leave our office, go on the floor, vote. First couple of times, hey, that's okay. It got old after a while. Having to walk out of your office to the floor, especially if you're on the second floor, if you're not on the same floor. So we go back in, move this money around, go back home. We got that taken care of. It just was an odd year. Then we go back to finish up session. We got a budget, which for the year, I think we did, the AV chairs did a very good job on both sides. Get that done. Policy bills that we've done. So, like I said, this has been a strange year. There's a lot of hidden demons, hidden pitfalls in a pandemic like this. So what business owners, especially the essential businesses that have to be open, what kind of liabilities? How many lawyers do we have in here? What kind of liabilities with them being open are they facing? Do you get a customer that catches COVID from you? Do you have an employee that might have contract COVID from going to work? The liability. So we passed a few bills that addressed the liabilities for essential businesses on being sued because someone alleged they got COVID from going into a business or got COVID from I'm trying to think of a business that stayed open, from Walmart or from the local grocery store. So we gave them immunity from those liabilities of being sued because someone might have gotten COVID from them. There it is. Civil liabilities. How many accountants do we have in here? Any accountants? So, the Oklahoma Accountants Board, we ran legislation that their fees cannot exceed $300. If you move out, if you decide to move out of the state and you want to come back, you would pay a fee no different than when you first started in this state. You're not going to be punished for coming back into the state. There are a lot of jobs, a lot of industries in Oklahoma that, in my mind, are protectionism. They protect Oklahomans from people coming from outside into Oklahoma and start a business. Well, that hurts the state in my mind. I know I dealt with several nursing issues. Nurses moving to the state of Oklahoma could not get licensed because we've got all these rules and protectionism. Well, we've got a shortage of nurses. We need nurses to come to Oklahoma. We need accountants. And these businesses, these jobs that you have to get a license through a board, it should be easy to get a license. So we've cut that red tape. We've reduced those fees this year. I want to give you all time to ask questions. I want to hit on, how many of you went to the grocery store during this pandemic and saw the shortage of meats? And that was nationwide, and saw the prices of what meat was. About midway through, I saw this coming. I called the pro tem. I said, look, we're going to have an issue when, and it's probably not as if, when this COVID hits these packing plants, and you send shifts home, and you have a shortage of meat going to the, and it's not a shortage of meat, it's the logistical problem of getting it processed into the grocery stores. It's going to be an issue. And there was foresight, but it was like the next day or two, the New York Times had the article from Tyson about the shortage of meat coming. One bill that I ran was to designate Oklahoma beef. What that is born, bred, and processed in the state of Oklahoma. The idea behind this bill is to promote mom and pop businesses to start a little harvest facility to butcher meat. And then give the producer, the farmer, the rancher, the ability to designate this is my beef, this is Oklahoma beef, and give him an opportunity to sell it and brand it that way. So that bill passed. Another bill, how many of y'all have heard of that fake meat out there?
Vegetarian meat.
The vegetarian meat. The meat that's made out of vegetables. And not the old-fashioned kind. My cows eat grass and they convert it to steaks, but this is actually taking the plant-based meats. Well, this bill was ran by Senator Bergstrom, and it makes a business label, if it's a grass-fed beef or a plant-based beef, they have to label it plant-based. They cannot call it beef. If you remember, the dairy industry stubbed their toe when they did not do this in the dairy. So you have almond milk. I don't know, I've seen a lot of almonds, but I don't see how you can milk one of them. But they did not get in there and stop almond milk producers from labeling it almond milk. So you go to the grocery store, well, that's milk. Well, it's not milk. So this bill helps farmers and ranchers in Oklahoma that a plant-based company cannot come in and say, well, this is meat, because it's not. It's a plant-based protein source. It's not meat. With that, I will stop and open it up for questions. Oh, Carl and I didn't do that good a job of explaining things.
Senator.
Yes.
Dan Seidel, I'm with United Way of Northwest Oklahoma out of Enid. We get in this continuous cycle of, oil and gas is down and then our economy is down. And the state tax dollars are not there to provide services for the state government. Are we ever going to get out of that cycle? I mean, how do we break that? And what, is it industry? Is it diversifying? Trying to bring different types of industry into the state. I mean, how are we going to ever break that cycle? It seems like we've been doing it for centuries.
Forever, yes.
Decades.
And yes, the answer to your question is yes. We have to diversify. And we're doing a really good job. It's not, in Oklahoma, we have a different economy than we had in the 80s when we saw that oil bust. In the 80s, we were pretty much ag and oil and gas. Today, we've got the aerospace industry is coming to Oklahoma. We are in the running to get Tesla in Tulsa. I mean, it's between Austin and Tulsa. So, yes, we've got to diversify. We can't hit oil and gas again. That industry, and when I say hit them, I mean going in there and taxing them, raising their taxes. That industry is struggling just because of the market. Ag, we can't we can't raise ad valorem taxes. We can't raise taxes on farmers and ranchers because they're struggling. Okay, then we go to the metropolitan areas. Well, look at our unemployment in the state. We can't raise their taxes because they're struggling. So right now we're in a quandary, and I hope it never happens again. I mean, this is the first pandemic I've ever been through, and I hope it's the last. But on a normal, take the pandemic away, how we fix it is diversification. We attract these businesses to come to Oklahoma. I think, even though this year we've had the legislature and the governor has butted heads and had a lot of disagreements, one thing I have to say is our governor has managed this pandemic as well as I think he probably can, as far as trying to keep Oklahoma open it back up, leaving it up to local control. We're all the time talking about local control. I can tell you that Randy, as a county commissioner here in Woods County, knows more of what's going on in Woods County and the best way to make those decisions as they do in Oklahoma City. So leave it up to the local control, and Governor Stitt did that. That will help, I think, attract businesses to come to Oklahoma, as you have Michigan still shut down, totally shut down. Neighbor just to the west of us, New Mexico, when you guys think about cussing our governor, look at New Mexico. They're totally shut down. I drove to Albuquerque last week, stopped to get gas, was going to run in and use the bathroom. I could not go in. Could not go in. It's shut down. And they're still shut down. But that's sales tax dollars that they're not seeing. Because when I went in, I probably was going to buy a Coke, and I was going to buy a candy bar, probably too many candy bars, but that's the economy turn. But the way the governor has managed this crisis, I think gives Oklahoma the opportunity to go and recruit these companies. Come to Oklahoma. We're business friendly. You can come to Oklahoma and you can start a business and not worried about being shut down. It's a long way coming, but I think we're on the right track. Carl, would you?
I would pretty much agree with that. I mean, if you're gonna increase taxes, you're gonna have to either increase the income tax, you're gonna have to increase ad valorem, or something like that, if we have increased taxes to get out of that cycle. Because you pay income tax based on income every year, you pay ad valorem on that, but that's not good for our farming area, the ad valorem and stuff like that. And so I see diversification. Yeah, well, I think we're number 2 in aeronautics now, aren't we? We're number 2 in the nation in aeronautics. And so, yeah, we're trying to bring them back. You know, interesting, kind of just a fact that I learned. Burns Flat, Oklahoma. You guys ever been there? It's out in the middle of nowhere, flat, okay? Went out there. We have an aeronautics landing strip out there. It's 3 miles long. They can land anything on that thing. And it has a corridor, an aeronautics corridor, from there all the way to the moon. To that, I mean, to outer space. There's a corridor there that nobody else can travel through. I mean, a lot of these other places, aeronautics, they have to check with the Air Force Base or check with somebody else before they can travel. And so we have a corridor sitting out here in western Oklahoma that's already designated. One of the first ones they ever did. And so that's one of the things we have. And that, you know, it's just things like that. We have things, and I agree. I think some of these people in these huge cities, I mean, Oklahoma City's big and all that, but I'm talking about New York City, Los Angeles, those places where they live right on top of each other all the time. I think they're going to find out that maybe we don't want to do that. You know, we're finding about the Zoom meetings, and they don't want to have to be around each other. So I'm hoping that we will draw some of that, because we are trying to diversify our economy too. So.
I want to see higher taxes.
Okay.
I don't want to see taxes
Is
go
this your
up because
last-
this way. I want to see them go up because we're expanding them this way.
Okay.
I want more people making more dollars and they're paying more taxes because they're doing well. Not because Carl and I decide we're going to raise our taxes. I remember making the comment, man, I can't, and I've been through a drought and the cattle market's bad, and I'm like, man, I can't wait to have to pay taxes. That means I'll make a little money. Well, then the next year I'll make some money. I'm like, God, I don't pay taxes. But I made money, and so that's the way I want to see the state doing better and bringing in more tax revenue, is because everybody's doing better. Everybody's making more money. Our economy's just humming along, not because we get in a crisis, because we did one too many programs at the state and we can't afford it, so now we got to come back to you and ask for more money. Because that's not fair to you guys.
I was just hoping you could address like the protests and things that are happening in the bigger cities and how much pressure that's putting on you guys to make policy changes so far as all of those social issues.
Okay. I'll start.
I'm going to get a drink of water on that one so I can get.
I wrote an article. I don't know if anybody read it. About a week
You
ago.
read your article?
I don't want anybody to read it. But I'm all for somebody, if they're having a problem protesting. I'm all against people and groups using it to promote their issues to cause violence. Like when they went up to the Capitol and wrote things on the Capitol. That cost you guys, they said, I'm putting it to the man. They just put back to you, because it's going to cost you $10,000 to get that graffiti off the Capitol.
Have they thrown that man in jail yet?
I don't know. But I'm just saying, I'm all for protesting in a right manner. I mean, okay, this is just, don't sacrifice me here in front of everybody. But if you would really look at it, you look at the Bible, would you not say Jesus was kind of a, compared to the normal Jew? I don't know that, but he came, he lived his life without sin, perfectly, right? We believe as Christians. But in a way, he in a way was protesting the Jewish manner. But he did it in the right manner, is what I'm trying to say. There's a manner to do it. Martin Luther King, he did it in the right way. He had marches. He had peaceful marches. He made sure that they were peaceful marches. I'm not against somebody protesting. I'm not against moving things in if there is true violence, but I don't want to swing too far the other way. And am I going answering your question? What you want me? I mean, I'll give you the answer you want, but I'm going to answer your question. Okay. Norman, they defunded the police department down to 2%. Okay. Let's look at education. Has anybody ever known a bad teacher? Huh? Has anybody ever known a bad principal or superintendent? Well, let's defund education. That'll save me a lot of time up there at the Capitol. I can just come back home. And so I get on my soapbox in that manner, in that there can be a swing too far to the one side or the other. I think there's some KKK that's trying to stir some of this up. Okay? I think, there's groups that want diversity. Not diversity. They want to cause trouble. Okay? They want to stimulate things to look bad. They want trouble because they can just to cause turmoil. There's groups that want to cause turmoil, and they get in on this. And so I'm for protesting, and I think we need to move things in a different direction. And I'm personally going to have to relook at some things in my area. Guess what? Alfalfa County supposedly is named after Alfalfa Bill Murray. What am I going to do there? They're taking Murray building away from Stillwater, so we're going to have to look at that. I don't know how far you go with it. To me, if we erase all our history, history's there not because we enjoyed the history, but we need to learn from that history. Okay, the Civil War is a terrible thing. Brother against brother, family against family. But hopefully we learn something from that. And so my fear is we erase history, we forget about all that kind of stuff. And I'm sorry, I'm way up on my soapbox.
Oh, that's right.
But if we forget about all that, we're bound and determined to repeat it. And so I guess, yeah, I'm for the protest if they're done in the legitimate right. I'm for that. I think we need to move change. But I'm sorry Mr. Floyd died. I really truly am. That officer should be prosecuted. He is being prosecuted. But I don't know where that goes to taking away law enforcement. Because I sure, as a state representative, don't want to use state dollars to protect Norman. No offense. I don't mean that badly. Do you want your dollars to go take care of Norman? Am I going to send a highway patrol down there because they don't have a police department to take care of something that happens in there? Because, even the best of citizens, there's people that want to cause, that are going to do crimes and stuff like that. So you still need a police department. We still need an education system. I'm just saying, yes, I think we need to let them do some improvements on their education, their training, their handling of those. But I think we can swing too far either way. So that's all I got to say.
You sure? I don't know. What's Newton County? That sounds pretty good, doesn't it, Carl?
Well, the former speaker, Jeff Hickman, said, I think Hickman County sounds really good.
Better than alfalfa. I didn't know his name. I thought you just raised a lot of alfalfa.
Well, that's what I had always thought, and so that's why I'm going to look at it. Somebody said they thought it was, so please don't put that out too far, because we're looking at that. I am going to be looking at that. So anyway, go ahead.
So. Yeah, and Carl's right. If you look at we have bad cops. If you look at the percentage in every profession, that's out there, you have a percentage of people that doesn't need to be in that profession. The gentleman that was just killed Friday, I watched the video. That was a bad thing. And they talked for, I think what they said was 45 minutes. They had a conversation. And the cops, with that, with the gentleman in New York City that was choked to death for selling single cigarettes. He was arrested because he was selling single cigarettes, not collecting taxes, the cigarette tax. The cops, the police officers are taking a lot of heat for enforcing laws and policies that people like Carl and I are putting in, or the city council and the mayor is putting in. And I'm going to speak for the police officers. The mayor or the city council says, we want to crack down on this. And they go out and they start cracking down. They are taking a lot of blame. And I'm talking in general. Now what happened with the last couple of weeks is horrible. Horrible, but I'm going to defend the police force a little bit. They take a lot of blame for enforcing policies and laws that the legislature, that the mayor, the city council has put in place. And they take the blame because they're the ones that you see out there writing tickets to you. They're the ones that are the bad guys in our lives. They're the ones that we got to look out for because they're going to write us a ticket for speeding, or they're going to do this to us. They're, when we run into a cop, it's in a bad, we're speeding on the normal, okay, speeding or ran a stop sign or no seat belt or something like that. And so, in their defense, all they are doing is enforcing policy that the legislature or the city council or the mayor is pushing. With that being said, for the protesting in the state of Oklahoma or in the nation, we have a right to protest. That's how we affect change. That's how this country started. If you remember the Boston Tea Party, that was a protest. That's in our genes as being an American is protest. You have a right to protest to affect change. But when you are change that protest from a protest to a riot, to a smash and grab, to looting, you're affecting businesses. And where these protests the last few weeks has happened has hurt minority businesses. They have stolen from them. And I don't believe that insurance will cover that, a riot. And so these people are out tens and hundreds of thousands of dollars in a small business because of the looting and rioting that came because of the protest. It got out of hand. So how do we fix that? Does the mayor send in the cops and stop it? I think the curfews was a good idea because you saw peaceful protests throughout the day, and then at night, then you saw the looting and the fires and the rioting. But what is the fix? I think maybe it's very, very tough right now, but I think you have to go in there and you've got to stop them when they're looting. And the other thing, the news media, if they would come back and show what happens to these rioters and looters after a protest or after a riot, you never hear about it. But, the ones that they can track down and catch that did this, they are prosecuting them. And if it is shown that, you break that window and you go in that store and steal that flat screen TV, there is going to be punishment for that. I'd like to find the guy that marked up the Capitol, make him pay for it. But you see the news media sensationalize what's going on, and you have Joe Blow sitting there in downtown LA, and I'm just throwing that out there. I don't have anything against LA, not really, but and he goes, "Oh, let's run down there and get it's shopping time." And they did it so efficiently that they had cars pulling up there, loading the car up. As soon as it's full, another one pulls up. Is how efficient they were at looting these stores. It was very organized on the looting. And we've got to put a stop to that. Everyone has the right to go protest. But you don't have the right to harm a business, to harm someone. You look at them stopping traffic. Okay. But when you start beating on vehicles, breaking windshields, dragging people out of vehicles, you went beyond just protesting and making your voice heard. You've turned into a criminal. And in my mind, you've lost all standing on your causes that you're trying to push.
Yes, Todd.
So I have 4 questions, and I'm not looking for a response for any of them. But I think as citizens, if we don't ask these questions of our legislators, we'll never find out the answers, right? We have an open audience here, so I appreciate your time. So number 1, when Kevin Stitt took office, one of his big platforms was tourism. And it would be interesting to know how many additional tourism dollars have come to Northwest Oklahoma since he took office, and exactly how much emphasis he has put on Northwest Oklahoma for additional tourism. Number 2, during the pandemic, and we hope we never see one of those again, right? I understand that. But I think it's leveled the playing field not only in Oklahoma, but in every state in the union. And I would like to know how many dollars have been spent looking towards economic development for rural Oklahoma, whether it be northwest, southwest, any rural area, because everybody's got that in the back of their mind, that there's a possibility for expansion in rural areas, whether it's Oklahoma, Texas, or Arkansas, or any other state in the union. We just happen to live in the best place in the United States, and I'd like to know how many dollars are spent towards that, because we think there's great opportunity here. Number 3, to the licenses of the contractors and the pricing of those. I am all about getting more of those trades back in our areas because we're losing that. I don't know that I'm necessarily in favor of reducing the amount of dollars that it takes to get a license or making it easier for them to get a license, because if I'm going to hire an electrical contractor or a plumber, I certainly want them to know their trade, to understand, and to be able to do that. So I agree that we should make it more convenient for them, but I certainly am not in favor of lessening the tests that they need to pass just so that we can get them. I am in favor, by the way, of restoring those licenses once those people have been incarcerated and they have been reformed. I don't think they've lost that knowledge just because they've been incarcerated. The third point is funding for education. So what are we doing in the metropolitan area to ensure that our school systems are going to get the proper funding? We know that oil and gas is going down. We know that those revenues are going to go down. And are we going to be cut short? Or is our educational dollars going to be cut short because of the fact that oil and gas is down? And to that, what are we going to do? This is my last point. What are we going to do to fund higher education? If we don't continue to fund higher education, especially the state schools, and I'm not talking about OU and OSU, but those rural state schools who are struggling because of their the students not being in place, and I think we need to figure out how to fund higher education and increase those dollars instead of decrease the dollars that are going there. And the last point is, yep, but it's a caveat to that. The funding of the chairs, when the state put in that option, that they would match chairs that happened in our local universities, and I'm not gonna ask Dr. Pakey exactly how many chairs are out there that have not been funded yet, but I know that the number is over 25 that have not been funded. And your university, Northwestern Oklahoma State University, has put new programs in place, put doctoral programs in place and graduated people, and are truly increasing the educational experience in Northwest Oklahoma and all over the United States, right? With zero help from the state capitol. Zero. And this is not a paid political announcement. Nobody asked me to get up here. David Bakey didn't talk to me about it, but I guarantee it's happened. But we're increasing our education process. Now, you guys need to help us by funding us in some way. Thanks. No, you don't need to. You don't need to
start with
respond.
the backward. Funding of we bonded this year to catch up on the backlog of the chairs.
Did it happen?
Huh?
Did it happen?
Governor vetoed and we overrode it.
So communicate with the governor, would you?
Well, I think that. How do you tell somebody, they tell you no and you just jump over top of them? Does that not communicate with them?
I'm not hammering you. I'm just saying. If we don't speak, we won't.
I know Northwestern's number 3. You have OU, OSU, and Northwestern's number 3 in the number of chairs that are funded, and the state was way behind. I'm sorry, I don't remember the exact millions.
It's quite a bit.
Yeah, but we funded that back. We caught up on our part. Now, we did also diminish the amount of number of chairs that we're going to allow to happen in the future because the state can't afford it right now. And I think the chairs and finding somebody to match that thing is a great deal. But why don't we look at the one that pops in my mind is Boeing. They're not in the state, but let's look at who's what, Google and Pryor. Why don't we look at Google to help match some of that funds and some of that, not just the state, because I mean the states I'm trying to take care of the basic needs, and education is a basic need. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying we did take care of our part of the and got caught on that. The governor did veto it. We did overturn that. What was your number 1? Now I've got
Tourism.
Tourism. Okay,
Platform
tourism.
that the governor.
Since that's in my purview, I'll talk to that, okay? By the way, the park system is at record level this year, to be honest with you, because we stayed open. I mean, no offense, I got beat up and bashed up, and I'm still sore and bruised because Sandhills is still open. Because everybody's going to bring COVID to Sandhills, and it was going to kill, a lot of people. It didn't happen, okay? They were outside. Yes, I'm sure some of them didn't do the social distancing, but we are having record numbers of attendance at our state parks. Now, we have also made so the income up in the state parks is up from tourism. That take parks, but I don't know about.
Our state parks have always done a really good job of taking care of themselves.
Yeah.
What I am interested in is how many additional dollars are we budgeting towards those state parks, because that was what the governor was, that's a platform that he ran on. Additional dollars.
I don't know the exact numbers, but I'll get them for you. But we did do some additional money in that area, okay? And so we are working on that. One of the things we did, we bonded $46.5 million for the state park system, okay? Some of them are run down. There's not been, some haven't been taken care of as like they should have. And so we're trying to take care of those needs. Every year, we're just saying this, every year out of your budget, we've taken $10 million, and so we're making an emphasis on there to make sure, rather than keep draining $10 million out, emphasize, and then, yeah, I know I'm going to get beat up on this, but the park fee, there's a parking fee. And some of it's going to be at, some it's not going to be at. But the idea is some of this tourist dollars, those people that are, the biggest ones we have in the state, Lake Murray, Big Bend, Beaver Bend down in very southeast Oklahoma, and Little Sahara, okay? Those are our biggest draws. We already do Little Sahara. They have a park, they have a fee that they have to pay to get out on the dunes. but we added that to Lake Murray and those. We're trying to catch those Texas dollars, Kansas, New Mexico, Missouri, all those people coming in, Colorado, coming into our state. I mean, you go to Texas, you go to their parks, you pay. You know what I mean? We're trying to make our parks nice enough they want to come here. Make our parks, and you say, well, let's put it back on every municipality. Well, I don't think you guys want to pay for somebody that goes from Texas to go to the park so they can enjoy themselves. I mean, give me a second, let me finish.
Oh, that's fine.
Okay, I can go, let's say Great Salt Plains was deep and I could get my boat out there. But I could go to Great Salt Plains, pull in, use the boat park, use the boat ramp, go out and fish all day, you know, with my family and everything, load up the boat, leave. How much did I help that park be in existence? Not a dime. And so that's part of the deal, trying to maintain it. And Director Winchester's working on that. Yes, you had a question?
I just want to comment, a month or two ago, the coronavirus, was pretty good.
Right.
We went over there to Salt Plains to do some crystal digging. I have a video of that I almost sent to Marion. The number of cars there, my son called us, we were behind, coming from Alva, he came from a different direction. And he said, you guys will not believe the cars that are here. And as I videoed around, and imagine some of those cars look pretty small, way back, and I saw people with Kansas tags. People were ready to get out and do something in the open. And the thing about it was, you didn't have to worry about this closeness because families stayed together in their own little digging areas, and they were far enough apart from everybody, you'd had to walk up and talk to them. And I thought, how many people come through Alva, Oklahoma on the way to the sand dunes and they have Kansas tags? And the people from Oklahoma City are coming out here because they want the freedom of being out in the open and not having to be around so many people. So we have some dollars coming in here, and I think we should support our state park.
I mean, I was at Salt Plains too, crystal digging. I've been in Cherokee for 36 years. Most people I've ever seen there, 150 cars.
I bet there was 400 there.
I've heard up to 500 cars out there at one
amazing.
time. So, there you go. Okay.
Well, look at my video.
I've got two out of four. You can pick the other four.
All right, what was that again? I have to remind me.
It's there. I just needed to voice it out. We want to remember higher education. Where are the tourism dollars? How are you helping economic development? That's all. I don't need a response. All I want you to do is remember that when you start going back, those are the things that are going to help the people within your area.
Right.
Those things. I appreciate what you do. I know it's time away from your family. I appreciate all that. Just remember that when you start putting this stuff in. I don't need a response. I just want you to remember.
I want a response.
I just got two questions, half the talk. In economic development, that's where I'm going to take it, is in rural Oklahoma, because of the virus thing, we've discovered that we're extremely underserved with high-speed internet. It's changed the whole world on how things are going to be done. We have an opportunity in rural America for people that used to live here, that live in big cities and work at big companies. They're getting rid of offices. You can go anywhere in the world and work. We're not going to have the capability to make that happen at this point because we are not served with internet. And then I'm going to go to another area, the cattle market. We've had trouble with the packers. And so the area's looking at doing something in that realm. And because of the size of these companies, whether it's telecom or packing, they control all the little guys that want to get in. We've got to have something, and that's going to have to be legislative, to make sure the little guys with better service, whether it be packing or internet, have the opportunity, even if somebody, well, that's my territory, you can't operate here. And the biggest fear most people have is Congress, not state, but federal, making rules to run the little guy out, or the big guys, because, you know, they've got their own people at the Capitol year-round. So, do you have any?
So, yeah, I think the Packers probably have the best lobbyists in the world in Washington D.C. on what they've gotten away with. I visited with Lucas's girl yesterday. They are looking into them as far as monopolies, and Lucas is looking into how do we start breaking them apart.
Right.
Now that's further down the line. They're looking at the price gouging now. He's not throwing them all these at them at once, but that is maybe some of the silver lining of this pandemic is we can address the Packer problem, because my entire life it's not been an even playing ground, and I just turned 50 last week, so you know that's been a long time that I've been griping about Packers. I think, you know, the legislation that I ran this year, I think that it's for the little guy. He's got to start out in these niches, in these niche markets. I think country of origin labeling is important. I'm not afraid of competition. I think American beef is the safest, best product there is in the world. So put our name on it. Let's promote that. But I also see the as far as trade deals, getting our beef sent out to other countries. If I'm in, and I'm just throwing this out there, I'm gonna say Nigeria, and I want to send beef to America, and say, well, okay, yeah, you can bring beef to Nigeria, but I want to send beef to your country too. Well, okay, send it on. Well, if I know you're going to stick Nigerian beef on the packaging of my beef in the United States, it's not going to sell.
Yeah.
So let's just don't differentiate, just sell it all, and to get that deal made with Nigeria, we've got to give that. I'm still in favor of country of origin labeling because I think it benefits us. But we are addressing the Packers, I think, on the national level, and that's where it's got to be. I have different opinions on country of origin labeling in the state of Oklahoma. I have been asked to run bills and force the Packers to label countries of origin in the state of Oklahoma. That would put you guys and our grocery stores at a disadvantage, because all the meat shipped to Oklahoma is going to have to be labeled. And if no other state does that, then the Packer will have to label it. Well, that's extra cost. And who pays the extra cost? You guys do. To broadband. That was another veto that we overrode, was rural broadband, and we're working on that. I think we're getting, well, this has been an issue since I've been elected. And it's not just in Oklahoma, it is across the country. Well, because of a hurricane and then COVID, so SLC hadn't been in 2 years, I guess, after this year, but Southern Legislative Conference. Last year I was appointed and voted in as chairman of Ag and Rural Development at the Southern Legislative Conference, which is the 15 southern states. That is something we talk about every year. Rural broadband, rural internet. We are looking at every way we can to get better service.
There wasn't some incentive money that was sent out by the federal government. There was some money that we worked at on the state, and like he said, we created a broadband expansion committee. I don't know that we may have to, how do we get electricity out here in rural areas? How do we do that, huh?
Well, we had some co-ops.
Yeah, had to go to rural electric co-ops, and so that's what I meant, RECs, and it was an effort. And
Well,
so,
they're subsidized. That's, you know, what we can do as a state is very, very minimal, but what the feds can do is subsidize that, and that's what we've got to look at. And push our federal delegation to start doing that, because I know on electricity, to run a mile of electricity to my house, if I wasn't on the main road, is tremendous. If it wasn't for federal incentives, I would not have electricity at my house. I'd be as dark as the moon, the backside of the moon.
Well, and I know both of you are rural, and you know the plight that we face, which is completely different than some, but there's a reason we're not gaining population. Because if we do not have jobs available for people, we got 400 plus graduating at Northwestern every year. We have the tech center, which graduates, you know, tech people. And we can't hold them in the community they were raised in. Okay, then there's a reason. There's no jobs. We've got to be able to create those jobs. And we've got to have funding to get the infrastructure, because we'll do the rest of it ourselves. I mean, you can look at Alva, and you know Alva, Cherokee, you know, they'll put things together to work. But we have to have the infrastructure, which we are not capable of providing.
A question I had, not a question, a statement, and I agree with you on the internet service. With these children at home, doing homeschooling, some didn't have computers, and I know there's been some issues that probably have taken care of that. But I found a draw on my own, and I'm not on the computer 100%. Talking about rural
Right.
needs here. And those kids were home all day, and some of their parents were home working. The internet wasn't really there for a lot of them that needed to have that.
Well, and the demand on it slowed everything down. Very slow. I was on some Zoom meetings with the pro tem. He's from Edmond, and his kids were doing their schools and doing this, and it was sketchy. And he's sitting in downtown Edmond. Well, I don't know where it is, but it's Edmond, the greater metropolitan area of Oklahoma City, and he had bad internet. It's not, I don't, in this pandemic and the move to everybody is at home doing their work online, it's just slowed everything down. But that is,
Is there a chance that we could see, I mean, since this is a hot button issue, and we've seen it as a problem for years, you know, and we deal with it every day, could we see some legislature protecting the third part, what I consider a third-party internet? They're not under the NAT agreement with telecommunications, which is why you're not seeing the broadband rollout. You're not seeing Pioneer's got it coming in here, big fat pipe, you set it across the street, you can't get to it. And that's federal. And you can't, I know the state can't do anything about that. But, you know, an individual could, if an individual had that, had access to that broadband and could purchase it, they could resell it, and you're seeing this, and they're reselling it with some wireless internet and that kind of stuff, and there's some good examples, some really poor examples, but there's some good ones out there. They are not investing because of the fear of what happened in North Carolina, where they started investing in it. The telecom stepped into the state legislature and said that no monies could be used from state or federal or county to help with the broadband or start their own broadband, anything like that. I mean,
so we have Hillary Communications Center. Are you aware of them?
yeah.
So they've been at the Capitol a lot, really working on different issues.
Anybody though that has a phone that has landline copper in the ground is not, quite honestly, is not a friend to rolling out in huge structure, because they are hamstrung by the federal government until they deal with that NAT agreement that they're all forced to have if they put copper in the ground. It's a non-issue deal, and the third parties can't come bring big money into this game and then have the legislature step in and go, you know, we need to protect the people that have copper in the ground.
So, as far as, and this is years down the road, Has anybody in here ever heard of a guy named Elon Musk? I mean, this guy is phenomenal. You know, you got your Tesla, now you got SpaceX. I just heard last week, he's wanting to put an array of satellites in the lower atmosphere for broadband. So it's going up and going through these satellites, cell service, broadband, and it's all through these satellites, and have enough of, I know Hughes was satellite internet, and my brother got that, and he said that's the worst thing he ever had, but it was new. It was new technology, but as smart as Elon Musk is and his teams, I think we'll have that.
Well,
And it's not gonna be any copper in the ground, it's gonna
the
be
problem with
satellite.
satellite is physics. You cannot shoot a signal, a radio signal into the air, and even though he's gonna use lasers to bring it back down and clip some time off of it, the latency is too high for manufacturing. It's too high for most of business applications that are transactional based. So that may work for your home, but that you are still going to have a hardwire connection for the vast majority of people that are going to do near real-time transactions. Because you're talking over 150 milliseconds. I know I'm in the weeds here, but quite honestly, it's not going to fit every application. It's a good piece of glue. And I'm excited about it. I think it's going to fix a lot of stuff. But there's some concern that you'll even be able to video conference, because HughesNet, you can't video conference because you can't push it up. And you still got that quarter second to go up and a quarter of a second to come down. You can't beat physics. The only way you can do it is with lasers, and you don't want that many lasers flying through the air.
And a lot of this is federal.
Sure, yeah.
So, but I am very much for building. Good grief, I got a place out down south of Winoka down there. I can't even do nothing.
But you
can't
can
even make a phone call.
You
So
can
Up
incentivize.
north of town, the same way.
but let me finish.
Sure.
Okay. So my hands are tied on some of this. But yeah, I can guarantee you that me and Senator Murdoch will promote getting broadband here, promote getting stuff into Northwest Oklahoma, because that's
how we're gonna get.
that's the people I
industry
serve.
here.
Yeah.
For industry to move to an area, some of the top things they look at is the schools, the housing, the hospital,
Infrastructure.
infrastructure, and broadband. Are they? I mean, we are in a world of the internet. I mean, that's where we do things.
We just got through talking with AT&T, trying to get things bundled to save a lot of money. And we found out that AT&T's internet has a speed of 15 to 18. And our bill through Suddenlink, when the guy came to install the stuff, our internet was running at a 37, 38 speed. And the guy that came to install it said, why is there a difference in the
Well,
speed?
when he showed up and he was gonna hook it up with the telephone line, instead of coax coming into the building, I was like, so what kind of speed are we gonna end up with? They said it was gonna be as good as we had. Well, it wasn't gonna be anywhere close. I mean, so we sent the guy down the road. But the salespeople that call say they're gonna give us better. Well, the best they can give is not as good as we already had.
Right.
And the guy from Indiana that I talked to, he was so adamant that it would be better. And he called back. I said,
talking
you
about
check
AT&T,
get your ducks in a row. And he called back and he
The
says, you're
thing is,
right.
some of the big companies,
Yeah.
even their people don't realize how limited we are trying to sell us something out.
Well, also AT&T, the only reason I know that Cherokee's one of the cities they had to pick. They had to put certain services in Cherokee so they could get funding to match up what they do in Oklahoma City. Well, the internet we get from AT&T is not worth much. No offense if anybody's from AT&T in here, but I mean, it's something they had to do to show that they were trying to help all communities. And so, Yeah, I think
There's
that's
a
part of it.
program that you can run, that you can get on your screen
Uh-huh.
that shows what your speed is of your
Yeah,
internet.
Yeah, that's what I mean, but ours varies from nothing to a little bit on the day. So,
I went downtown, all around the square, and was asking about their internet. And on this particular topic came up from one of them, they said, AT&T said, well, they're gonna come out and install this equipment and make them a lot better. Well, when they got the order from the tech called them and said, hey, look, this equipment will not hook up with what you have there. It's not even possible. And so there is a disconnect.
yeah, there's a connection from sales and marketing.
Yeah.
Yeah. They got you sold, so that, but
And AT&T is not gonna upgrade their equipment in rural communities to make where you can get that kind of stuff. So that's a fact of life. We're
So-
not gonna get it.
Panhandle Telephone has made a deal with AT&T, and I don't know what kind of deal they've done, but they're a partner.
They're upgrading their equipment, yeah.
And I have Verizon, and it doesn't talk to their towers. It's just different, whatever.
Right.
But I know AT&T made a deal with Panhandle Telephone 3 or 4 or 5 years ago.
So back to 802. You said $1,700 is what the expanded Medicaid rate would be?
17,000.
17,000, did I say 1,700?
No, 17,000.
17,000 for an individual.
What is it currently?
There is none for that.
Well, for the
For a
adult
healthy
rate.
population.
Okay. So in perspective, that's like somebody making $8 to $10 an hour? And then,
I haven't added that out, but I
Yes.
believe it, yeah.
so if we look at Insure Oklahoma, which we participate with at
Right.
the nursing home, it's like $14 an hour. And I know they put it on the table to cut it, and they pulled that back. I sure hope you can, that affects a lot of my employees. That helps me tremendously, cuts my bill over half. And our Blue Cross bill's like $22,000 a month.
Right.
And they pay half. That just the Insure Oklahoma part. That certainly helps me afford to provide health insurance to all my employees. Just keep that in mind. Insure Oklahoma is good. I wish we could expand that instead of expand Medicaid.
That would be my preference too.
Because, of course, if you have skin in the game, you're going to do things a lot better. You're going to go do preventative medicine. You're going to go to the doctor, not the ER.
That's what we wanted to do, put a work requirement on it. And then also maybe have a little bit of a copay, okay? And I'm not saying I want to hinder somebody that's in need, but if I got a $1 copay to go see the doctor, or I got a $10 copay to go to the hospital, the emergency room, which one am I going to go to? Probably go the effort. If I'm really in need of money, I'll probably spend the time to get the appointment to go to the doctor. Because a lot of times we have medications go straight to the ER at 5:30 because they didn't want to go to the doctor.
And Insure Oklahoma helps with, with whatever premium paid, helps you turn in your receipts for the copays that you do pay, helps reimburse the employee too.
Yeah.
It'd be nice if it was graduated that after you hit the earning mark, because we run into that now. We get people to where we bring them in, they go full-time with us, they run for a while, they start making money, and all of a sudden, they lose the Insure Oklahoma. And it's an all or nothing proposition. It's not a graduated, hey, we can, and that really incentivizes us to figure out how we can reward them until we get to that mark and not push their wage over, that deal. And it's just, it's set up to be kind of then we hit them and we say, hey, you can't be on this program next year because you don't qualify. And all of a sudden, they're picking up, a bigger portion of their deal. So it brings them to success and drops them off the bus stop. It'd be nice if it graduated a little and picked up.
This won't either. This won't graduate either. So, okay. Anything else?
Well, going forward with some of the things that you've heard this morning, what do you anticipate will be some of the study projects before the new session?
So, I know that some of them are looking into, one of them is really looking into the broadband, the internet, and that kind of stuff. I think we're also going to see some studies done on, I was trying to think of one I'd heard, but I can't remember what it is exactly. But some of these issues will be studied. I don't think there'll be as many studied this year as there was last year, because of elections. Because everybody's out campaigning. As far as on our end, half of theirs aren't, but I mean, so, yeah. I mean, I'm not gonna do formal studies this year. But I found out sometimes you do a formal study, you go, you sit there for an hour or 2 hours and everybody talks and then nothing happens. I'm thinking the idea is I'm going to take the people I want to talk to, get them in the room and tell them, okay, here's our problem, hammer it out. Let's work on it together, rather than come together, do a study, and then they don't show up. Because on a study, they have to be there, but I want them to want to be there to help me work on that. So, is that, and Senator?
So yeah, I'm gonna do some studies. I'm on a task force looking at regional packing houses. We're looking at bringing a regional packer to Oklahoma. And so I'm gonna do a study on offal, the drop, and what we can do as far as regulations to ease bringing a packing house in and taking care of the drop. And what the drop is if you guys don't know, that's the extra stuff when you harvest an animal. It's the extra that you have to have something to take that away. So that's one of the studies I'm going to be doing. Yeah, it's going to be tough. I mean, we're still figuring out, with this COVID. Normal interim study is you bring a group to the Capitol and you have them testify, and you have legislators there listen to the testimony. If we get a second round of COVID coming in, it's going to be a Zoom meeting, is what it's going to be. And I've already told you what I think about Zoom meetings. Either I've got to up my game on staying in front of a computer all day long and figure out, as like I said, I'm a people person. I want to see your face in person. But that may be just the new norm.
So what are you doing about improving census response rates in your county where you live?
So we're not last anymore. I'm on Facebook, and every talk I give, and I guess I missed out on this one, talking about how important it is. But I am preaching until I blue in the face on that. And
so do we know, are they is the census making any effort to go door to door?
So, was you on the conference call with Governor?
Yeah.
So yes, and when you get to rural areas, especially if you have a rural route address, that's going to be a person-to-person visit their house. I do know, I did mine online. My wife came home one day and said, hey, the census stuff was on our door. So I know somebody didn't buy my house that's out in the middle of nowhere.
Well, it's kind of ironic that we don't have quality internet access, but yet that was the primary mode of getting people to respond, and we're the ones who are going to be impacted the most negatively with the low response rates.
So when I put that on Facebook, as far as my push, that was a lot of the feedback I got in the comments on my post on Facebook is, okay, yeah, well, it'd be great if we had internet service.
Sure.
Cimarron County, I think, is at 30%, which is...
They've grown a lot then.
Oh, we've done I'm shocked. I just want to get more, but I don't want to be greedy, but yeah, I do want to be greedy.
How many in here have done their census? I like that.
I have a question on that. I mean, there's not a federal mandate on how you do the census per se. And the state knows if we have less people on the census than the state knows we have in here. I mean, take the bigger of the two numbers, because, you know, if they collected the information on the person somehow, they've got it. I'd use the bigger of the two numbers. I don't know why you guys couldn't make that happen. I mean, if you're collecting information.
Two numbers, I don't understand what you
Well,
mean.
say, okay, you gotta fill out this census form, or you had them down at the DMV and you already got their information on a current driver's license that they filled out 2 weeks ago, why can't you use that information? I mean, it's collecting of the information that meets the constitutionality. I don't know if there's a law that stops that.
There may be a law.
That's why I like your idea, I'm just trying, I haven't thought about why they haven't done that. I don't know if it's voluntary questions or whatever, you know what I mean? I don't know.
And I think it's the questions. They want to get a lot of data from.
Constitution doesn't require demographics. As long as we meet the Constitution. It'd be better for all demographics if we did that.
Good point. Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm starting, I've been, what have I been doing? I don't know, I've been working on all these other things right now, and so that's my big main push as soon as we get past this election cycle to move to that, to make sure we're good at. Brent Kissling is kind of in charge of that from Burlington over here, so he's trying to make sure he's making a bigger emphasis in rural Oklahoma. In fact, that's one of the things he brought up on the call the other day, was that he was really trying to get back there. What do you want to get us to? I can't remember, 30?
I don't.
We were 40 something, and he's trying to get us. We're already.
Yeah, we're at
30.
43, and he thinks just the way the trends are going, we're going to be in the 30s as far as ranked on participation, which he said that's going to be pretty good. So,
Comparatively speaking.
comparatively speaking.
Will you all be attending the Tulsa rally this weekend? And I am concerned because.
I'm taking care of grandkids.
I don't like people.
I am concerned because we talk about we're on talking about the second upswing from COVID, and yesterday in 24 hours, there were 450 cases.
It was interesting. I saw that. In fact, I heard that this morning on, there was a big jump yesterday. It was 259, and now it's up to 450 today, or the report today was 450, and there was a jump. But they also said the majority of that jump is in the younger people. And so it's, I think, this Carl thinking, that's not fact. We've increased baseball games and those kind of things. We had protest march, not against protesting, but they were out there and getting together, and there's more socializing of that younger group. The more vulnerable group, there was not a great increase in. It was just those younger ones. That's what the number was.
Do they have any category for non-symptomatic?
You know what?
Non-symptomatic?
Asymptomatic.
Yeah,
I don't know.
because you can test positive.
If you're positive and you're asymptomatic, you're still considered a positive.
Right, but what I'm saying is, there's a difference.
Right, exactly.
Because nobody's gonna know, there's no fever, there's none of that, then all of a sudden they have it.
Well, and that's the more we test, those are they're gonna come up. Yeah, my wife asked me earlier this week if we were gonna go, and I said I have no interest going anywhere that there may be 1 million people standing. I hate standing in line. So no, I'm not going. Yesterday, I had surgery on my arm during all of this, and yesterday I had a checkup, and the nurse that was at my doctor's, I hadn't seen her. And she said, well, she just got back. Her husband had died of COVID. She had tested positive, and she finally tested negative, and she's able to go back to work, but she didn't show any symptoms. And she was with her husband all the way through, but never showed a symptom, and was fine. And her husband was diabetic, she's diabetic, so she would be in the high risk group. This thing is so
I don't know, they don't brought up a
unpredictable
category like that. I think they ought to. That'd be interesting.
And I'm just saying that because in our case here, that's been the case with ours.
So there was one senator that got it. He is given blood, he's given plasma. Ever so often he goes down there and gives plasma, and I think they're looking at the people that's gotten it and gotten over it in creating some sort of vaccine.
Antibody needs that, yeah.
And that's how we get through this. I think it's gonna be, it's here, and we're gonna have the second round, we're gonna have the third round. I think it's gonna be like the flu. We have a flu season, we're gonna have a COVID season. But how we get through this, how we get over it and not shut our economy down every time it's flu season or COVID season, is we have a vaccine for it. We have a treatment, and I'm hopeful that we get it fairly soon.
I think we bored them enough.
Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you all.
I don't want to keep anybody any longer than necessary, but thank you all for coming. Our office is located out here at the Tech Center and Incubator, and our two primary program areas for Freedom West is affordable housing development and preservation, and the arts as an economic driver in rural communities. So, thank you.
Anybody else have anything to report? Ribbon cutting today at noon at Twisted Knot, if you guys can make it. But any updates from anybody else?
Can I just say a word? I and the senator are both very fortunate to get to represent Northwest Oklahoma. There's a lot of areas in this part of the state I would not want to represent, but I am very fortunate to be blessed to get to represent the good people in Northwest Oklahoma. So thank you for letting us be there. So.
Yes, I did all that.
Can